you posed a question about the Senators, though.
Yeah, no, my question about the Senators is where do they rank in the worst run organizations in sports? And that's not to say like, you know, there's a difference between the worst run organizations like the Senators and the one I think that maybe only tops them in the NHL is the Arizona Coyotes. Yeah, sorry to all our PHNX. Sorry, Sean.
I need to publicly get on here on the microphone and say I do not endorse this, or else I will have PHNX people come at me.
Honestly, Sean, I was so taken aback when Pete fixed his fingers to type that to us. I thought it was really not cool.
My criticism of the Arizona Coyotes is not a reflection of they have no fans, blah, blah, blah.
But then you texted that when we said, why are you putting the Coyotes on? You said they don't have fans, and if they do, you said you don't even like them?
Shut up.
Is the text?
Shut up. I'm not dumping on the Coyotes, but even Coyotes fans have to recognize and be frustrated by how poorly they have been run over the past decade.
I think what we said before we went live is like it's not.
So I said it's like
the kid comparison.
Yeah, it's like having a kid or seeing a kid and seeing their parents being awful to them and being like, yo, you're terrible at parenting and you should not have this child. And then other people being like, why do you hate that kid? I don't. I want to see that kid grow up and be successful, so he needs new parents.
But it's more saying, and
I want to see the
love a
Coyotes
good analogy,
thrive
and I think
in
that's
Arizona.
a good one. But you're more driving past the kid's house and saying like, that place must be a disaster.
Yeah, because it is.
And like your kid in the car in this hypothetical is like, but I go to school with that kid. I like him.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're
saying.
like, well, I just don't fuck with the parents.
I feel like Coyotes fans will, because like I feel like Coyotes fans, their big thing is like people are always like, you play in a college arena, and it's like, cool, bro. Like we get it. We
Mullet
know
rocks. Dude.
Mullet is awesome, and like it's a lot of people who don't understand. But like I think even Coyotes fans would recognize that like ownership at times has made some questionable
Coyotes
decisions.
fans are being put in a terrible position by the way the team is being run. They're being made fun of, and they have to deal with all the backlash and the shit talk from other fan bases.
All your texts about them.
That's
like,
right. But my point is like there's a difference between that and like the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates are embarrassing and irrelevant, but that's because their ownership doesn't fucking care. Like they're not puking all over themselves. They're just like, we don't want to spend money.
They fall more into
they're not trying.
Yeah, I think that like poverty franchise can mean a lot of different things in today's day and age.
Right.
Like, is it actually a money thing? Is it that they have a ton of turnover? Is it that they keep changing their mind about what their direction wants to be? There's a million things that can make you look at a franchise and say, this is a mess. Who are your other bad franchises, though?
I mean, the worst ones that come to mind for me, number one has to be the Washington Commanders. Just with like all the shit with Dan Snyder and just the disgusting stuff behind the scenes going on there. It's just like they've been a pretty bad team. They're just like a disgrace to the NFL. The whole like the rebranding stuff was a horrible smear on them. Like everything has been terrible with the Washington Commanders.
That there was that place was seemingly like rife with sexual harassment and like doesn't even make the first paragraph of saying this organization is a mess speaks to what a catastrophe that was. And when that story came out a few years ago, everyone was like, brutal, not surprising.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like everything that comes out, all the horrific stuff that comes out about the Commanders, the reaction is always, well, yeah, they're terrible.
The Commanders, or as I like to call them, the commies, are like a head to toe like cultural failure. Like even like what was it last year or 2 years ago where the stanchions came down and almost ended Jalen Hurts' career.
Oh right,
like that's where it's like culturally they're bad. They don't have good players. Like with the Coyotes, for example, you can look at them and be like, well, their GM knows what they're doing. Like Bill Armstrong's good at his job. They have hope. If you're a Commanders fan, it's just like, this is not getting better anytime soon. Every single part of what we do, from our logo to literally the stadium that we play in, is a mess.
And I know that it goes to borrow from Michael Andlauer's brain. I know this goes back to the previous ownership, but like, never forget, the only thing that got the Commanders to change their logo was somebody fucking with their money. That was I think it was FedEx that was
yeah.
like, we're gonna pull, and people were like, we're gonna stop selling you jerseys, and they were like, okay, we think we're gonna change it.
And like the only thing that got Snyder to sell the team was like borderline prison time.
All right, that is by the way, that's Commanders talk here on What Chaos. There's gonna be plenty more of it. Who else?
Commanders, Coyotes, and then like the Senators honestly might be third on that list. I just think about all the shit that has happened with the Senators, and like some of it is not like explicitly on ownership or like the general manager and stuff, but just think about all the nonsense that has gone on with that team in the past decade. You've had like the Uber scandal, Erik Karlsson and Mike Hoffman, that debacle, the team, the 2018 team being disbanded with like fury that we haven't seen since the Florida Marlins after they won the World Series.
Right.
Like the Eugene Melnick and like all his nonsense. Even like he couldn't go on a yacht vacation without it being a major controversy turning into a lawsuit. Do you know about this? He went on like a super yacht vacation and it turned into a $10 million lawsuit because the captain was a disaster.
Oh,
and it was like violent puking and like rampant like racism and stuff like that
So it's the 2022 movie Triangle of Sadness.
Pretty close, honestly.
That's what that sounds like.
Yeah, and like they couldn't sell out playoff games. They had to put up tarps in the upper bowl.
Do you remember that?
Like now they're losing first rounders and firing the GM. So like all of this stuff is kind of culminates into being like this team is either cursed or a joke.
It's a fabric thing. It's
right,
it's woven into the fabric. And you mentioned the
and
Uber
that's why I
thing,
love Andlauer, because he's like, I'm sick of this shit. I'm trying to change this.
I bought
shit.
what?
I didn't
Also,
write the
quickly back on the play out the rest of the show, Sean. I want to hear that as many times as possible. On the Andlauer and Ryan Reynolds thing, do you remember why Ryan Reynolds' group didn't get the Senators?
No.
Bids were due, and their group was like, hey, instead of us submitting our bid, can you give us a window of 30 days to negotiate with you guys? Nobody else can.
Mm-hmm.
And the Senators were like, no. And they were like, well, we might not buy it then.
Wow.
And they were like, we know you won't then. Somebody else will just buy it.
Okay.
That was my curse. If I'm going to be spending all night doing AI renderings of Ryan Reynolds buying the team, I was like, I should probably read up a little bit on this. And I think that's why that group fell through.
Damn.
Because they were
what
like,
a stupid reason.
yeah, submit a bid, bro.
Yeah.
If they did submit a bid, subscribe to the YouTube and
That's
comment
right.
on it.
It just bums me out that we're not getting, because the big part of the Reynolds wanting to buy the team was like wanting to do an NHL style welcome to Wrexham. Think about how fucking juicy this would be.
God, it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it just kind of like bums me out that we're not getting that style. Although like I do wonder how much they would even want to put that out. But like I think at the end of the day, Ryan Reynolds is more about the TV show than like I think he would put a lot of this on it just because he knows it would get viewers.
or a Ryan
Great
Reynolds
content.
doppelganger, or a Jamie Dornan
That's right.
doppelganger. Well, we do have to talk about the Flyers. Carter Hart gets hurt versus the Sabres.
Wait, were you going to add two more?
To the conversation of franchises that are a mess. Cleveland Browns, always and forever. And that's ownership, that's team performance, that's like shady decisions. It's fans at points. Like,
It's being in the city of Cleveland, which
you know
hate.
what? I've never been to Cleveland, so I don't know if I can knock it.
I hate Cleveland just because it's like Buffalo, but more popular, but worse.
Did you,
More
Sean?
popular in what way?
They've got more pro sports teams.
I was gonna say, I was like, I don't think Cleveland's very popular.
They got they're a three sport city, right? So one more than Buffalo.
4 if you include Barons, right? You got the Cleveland Browns, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, you got the Cleveland Guardians. People forget, and the Cleveland Barons still there?
No,
I know
idea.
that's where the River Monsters are, right?
Oh,
The AHL team. I know that.
So they were there was an AHL team that was the Sharks affiliate called the Cleveland Barons, but AHL teams, ECHL teams, they change, they move. all over the place. So Browns I would put on that list, and sneaky right now. I know that Sean is having a rough time because his Arizona Diamondbacks just lost the World Series to the Rangers. Sean's baseball team, the Boston Red Sox, kind of belong on that list right
come
now.
on.
This is like a recency bias thing. Like
I can't even
currently,
really
Come on, no. As much as I hate Red Sox ownership,
It's not like
putting
a
them in a
decades-long
discussion
thing.
of worst run teams.
Trading Mookie Betts is one of the worst things I've ever seen happen in pro sports.
So there's a difference between bad management decisions and being a poorly run organization. The Red Sox fucking print money, and they've greatly improved Fenway Park in terms of just from an operation standpoint. Yeah, I love making fun of the Red Sox for operating like a small business baseball team, but they are a thriving business.
They also have as many World Series as any other team in the last decade.
They won a World Series 4 years ago.
I said it's a
5 years
recency
ago.
bias, but they changed the direction of their team every 3 years or every 2 years, and somebody loses their job as a result of it. Pete, they offered a front office member an interview for their general manager job, and she turned it down.
Yeah.
That's not a reflection on her. That's a reflection on them, because that is the right move for her to be like, hey, no.
I mean, there are warts with the way that they are being run, because it should be one of the most attractive jobs. So that's kind of there's two hands here. It should be one of the most attractive jobs, so they can't be considered one of the worst run organizations in sports. If that, in theory, is one of the most coveted jobs in the sport. But on the other hand, the ownership is meddling in affairs too much that nobody wants that job. So they are being poorly run at the moment, but they don't make that list.